Hello, this is Justin, and I'm here to talk to you about some of the updates from Magic grants over the last year, particularly how they relate to Monero and other projects related to Monero. This was recorded on June 16th, 2025, just a few days before the conference, but things may have changed since then, so that's the date of which this is accurate. Here's a quick overview about Magic Grants if you haven't heard of us before. We are a 501c3 public charity, and our charitable mission includes the maintenance of public blockchain infrastructure. That includes Monero. Among many other things, we host the Magic Monero Fund, which is a community elected committee, and we also host the Magic Privacy Guides Fund, which is the committee that runs privacyguides.org, which you may have heard before. And we also support other projects as well of our own that we're interested in, other projects like Bitcoin and in the Ethereum ecosystem as well. As a Monero community member, if you're watching this, you qualify to register to vote in the Magic Monero Fund committee election. So make sure to sign up to our email list to be notified when we have our next election. You'll be able to register to vote. The link to do that later is there, listmonk.magicgrants.org. So definitely do that. Anyone is eligible to register to vote, even if you haven't had massive contributions to the Monero ecosystem before. We definitely want all sorts of perspectives to be represented in the voting process for selecting the committee members for the Magic Monero Fund. But the Magic Grants organization has been around since 2018, and it got its originations from the Monero community for people who wanted to further fund Monero research labs related materials, and we've kind of spiraled from there. This is how this slide helps document how Magic Grants helps the Monero ecosystem. Among other things, we assist with security audit and review fundraising, vendor selection, and negotiation for every sort of major project that Monero and the community members are especially interested in. This allows us to be proactive and to reach out to potential parties who we feel at the Magic Grants organization or the Magic Monero Fund or any of the committees that we support sees us as a strategic need in the community that they're working to represent. So it allows us to be much more specific about what we're trying to target expertise for, as opposed to just having an open application process and sort of miscellaneous ideas come out. We actually actively seek out what type of improvements we want to see in the ecosystem. This also allows us to foster long-term, low risk, and mutually beneficial relationships with these audit and review firms. We never want someone to have a very bad experience working with us. We always want to be an easy option when auditors work with us, because by having these good long-term relationships and knowing that we're not going to be difficult to work with allows us to get better rates, allows us to get better flexibility, and just overall be in better terms with these auditors over a longer period of time, because as you may know, privacy and security is a never-ending battle, so we are always going to have good relationships with them. By working with Magic Grants with these groups, we are able to establish significantly clear expectations. We're able to put in a contract form exactly what we're looking for, negotiate language one way or another to make sure it particularly matches the need of the exact project, which is a more of a hands-on approach than you might get with the Monero CCS, where sure, some feedback might be incorporated, but it's sort of diluted community feedback rather than someone on a committee electing for a particular contract to be specifically changed for them to continue going through with it. It's lots more of a hands-on, active involvement process. As a result of doing this, we're also able to help eliminate cryptocurrency price volatility risks, because instead of like the Monero CCS, assets being held in XMR and the value of XMR maybe being, appreciating or going down over any particular time period of an outstanding fundraising campaign, we're able to lock the current rate in dollars while the campaign is going on, and that typically saves the Monero community quite a bit of money. You may have seen for Monero CCS proposal a buffer of about 10 to 20% over sometimes. We're able to just remove that and pass the savings directly along to the Monero community. And if people still want to receive payout in XMR, BTC, or some other currency, we're still able to help with that. It just is locked to a USD specific price, or a Euro price, or anything else that is easy to hedge against. Over the last year, we've done quite a few contributions in the Monero community, like we've done over the past years. The Magic Grants is definitely very interested in Monero specifically. Here are some things we've done. The Monero FCMP++ reviews and audits. I'm going to go through what some of those have looked like. Some Serai reviews and audits. The Magic Monero Fund has an ongoing campaign right now to work on Monero RPC fuzzing, which is very important for the security of the network. And they also helped us get the Monero fundraising campaign live that we use for Magic Grants now, and that accepts donations in XMR and other assets. Magic Grants worked on Monero TrueNAS apps, so you can now very, very easily run a Monero node, run Monero LWS, configure it with Tor and I2P, all that sort of fun stuff. We made it super easy for you to do on your NAS with TrueNAS, which is an open source NAS-focused operating system. And we recently also made a Rust Monero Explorer API, which is a replacement for the Onion Monero Explorer that is built atop Cuprate. We're very excited about that. To talk about some of the audits and some of the reviews that we've done specifically related to FCMP++, it's important to step back and realize that this is a very large project, and our role is definitely not, Magic Grant's role definitely hasn't been to address everything that needs to be done here, but we've done a pretty significant part to help further these review needs forward. One of the first things that Magic Grants did to help is to contract Veradice to write the first wave of divisor proofs. That was all the way back in May and June 2024. So that was over a year ago now at this point. This has been a long-running process. Additional work was needed for those, so we scheduled a second and later a third series of divisor proofs with Veradice. And along the way, CipherStack did their own periodic reviews of these Veradice divisors documents, and I have more information to say on them. But this culminated in their proof modification, which they submitted in June 2025. We also contracted Veradice to do formal verification of the gadgets and the circuit. This is something that Veradice is pretty uniquely suited for. That was completed throughout April and May 2025. And in blue, we have some items that still need to be done or are ongoing. So across the months of approximately June, July, and August of this year, we need at least one additional divisors review. We need the multi-sig formalization and audit, and the GSP audit. And then in July and August 2025, we have a contest going on and to make more efficient libraries, and then there will need to be audits of those after the contest has completed, which is expected in either late June. So here's specifically just about Monero FCMP++ divisors. Taking a step back, divisors have been a big headache in terms of getting the efficiency that Monero needs from the FCMP++ implementation. Monero can implement very strong privacy technology without this particular divisors technique, but it is significantly less performant. We're talking approximately 10 times faster to verify with divisors. Without this, verification time becomes a very significant bottleneck and requires many design sacrifices, really, in order for Monero to really function well. So divisors are very important to get right, and the FCMP++ composition includes divisors because we want the efficiency benefits from it. So that's why there was such a focus on divisors. These were initially proposed by Liam Egan in their research paper, but Egan did not provide the security proofs for them, so that's what we've been trying to sort of fill in so that we can confidently use divisors. So first, Magic Grants contracted Veradice to write security proofs in support of these divisors. Unfortunately, even though we spent quite a few months working with Veradice on these documents, and Veradice felt that these were sufficient proof documents for Monero's use case, CipherStack did not find these proofs convincing. And when you are working on an ecosystem as important as Monero, you want to make sure that the proofs are very convincing, because there's a lot of value and, more importantly, privacy that's put behind this cryptography. So it's very important for there to be consensus that the cryptography is very, very safe for Monero to use in its intended use case. So because of these challenges in the review, CipherStack spent a lot more time on it, and Magic Grants has worked with other parties as well to try and get these divisors solved. Ultimately, CipherStack earlier this week, in mid-June, submitted their final proofs that include modifications to Egan's scheme that is currently under review by Monero developers, including Kayaba, to make sure that these modifications are actually compatible with Monero's code. Once the scheme is properly once the scheme is considered compatible with Monero, which is ongoing with Monero's FCMP++ proposal, then another firm will be selected to review CipherStack's work, because again, as of right, CipherStack is quite confident in their new proofs, but it's always good to have other third parties review it. So ZK Security is one leading firm that Magic Grants is considering for being asked to review CipherStack's new approach, and then any modifications that would need to come from that for Monero's actual implementation when using these divisors. So divisors have been a real sticking point over the last year. Definitely took longer than most people expected. Our hope is that the security proofs for the security proofs to be pretty straightforward, and they were not. It took a lot of back and forth. And we're not quite done yet, but we are getting close. So on the non-divisors work, though, there's all sorts of other things. So right now, the Monero community is running open contests for the elliptic curve library and the divisors library for the creation component, not the verification. And Monero doesn't strictly need these. It could use the versions that I believe Kayaba put together initially, but they're definitely not the most efficient form that is possible. And so there's an open contest for a more efficient version of these two libraries. So when that is complete, the resulting selected libraries that are chosen for being the most performant are the ones that will need to be audited. This way we didn't audit Kayaba's and then later also have to audit the winning library submissions. We can just skip to auditing the one that we actually intend to use. Ultimately, it doesn't look like resources are going to be tight given the recent appreciation of Monero, since a lot of money was raised for research CCS. But if resources are tight and push really comes to shove, it is possible that we can skip the divisors library audit, since in the very worst case failure scenario, there would just be an inability to prove transactions. And so, a sort of hot fix could be implemented on the network. Again, nobody wants that to happen. But in terms of priority, the elliptic curve library is more important to get audited. But it looks like resources should allow both to be audited. But if you'd like to contribute to help make sure that we can audit everything we'd like to, it's definitely useful to contribute to the CCS or Magic Grants to help make that happen. Additional work includes formalizing the multi-sig implementations, and then to audit the code implementation of that multi-sig implementation. CipherStack is the leading candidate for this because they had already done this with CLSAGs, and it should be even more straightforward here. So we're excited to hopefully work with CipherStack on that one, or through the Monero CCS. And then also on audit of the generalized Schnorr protocol, the GSP. This is effectively the transaction signature. It's another component that just needs to be reviewed before FCMP++ can be safely deployed onto the network. Magic Grants does more than just strictly Monero-related work, though. We're very, very interested in supporting Monero, as you've maybe seen me in the Monero community quite a bit over the years. But we are interested in supporting other various things that tie into Monero, and I want to highlight Serai here, because personally I consider Serai to be a very, very exciting forthcoming decentralized exchange. It has many properties that you don't see out of other decentralized exchanges in the ecosystem now. And in terms of our mission in helping make sure that public infrastructure is secure, we think that Serai is going to be quite important public infrastructure in the future. So we wanted to get a head start at helping make sure that these systems were secure. So to that end, we actually hired Trail of Bits to review the Serai smart contract for Ethereum. So not Monero specifically related, But this is something that you would need if you're trying to exchange Monero for DAI or ETH or some other asset that Serai wishes to support on the Ethereum network. And just a testament to Kayaba's excellent coding. Trail of Bits found 0, high, and medium severity findings. We have a blog post on our website about the audit findings, and it also links directly to the Trail of Bits GitHub repository where you can read the full report from them. The informational and low severity issues that they found were remediated and addressed. So very, very excited that Trail of Bits was able to do this review. We're very excited to work with them, and we're very pleased with the outcomes, certainly. Better than we really could have hoped for. We also hired HashCloak to review the exponent verifiable random functions, often called EVRF, threshold distributed key generation, or often called DKG, and to prove its security. This is partially completed. I'd say about 75% completed and still ongoing. So they're still working on this. If you're interested in a write-up of what needed to be proven and some of the context behind that, there's that gist there that you can see linked. You can go to that later. But the TLDR of why this is sort of being researched and reviewed is this scheme is how Serai nodes will securely generate keys, which is integral to the operation of the Serai network. So it's very important that this is able to be proven so that Serai can safely use it, and users who interact with Serai can feel confident in using the network as well. So these are two projects we've worked on with Serai. We expect future projects in the future, but there's still a good strong start that we've had for this year. The Magic Monero Fund, I'm really excited, has undertaken its own initiatives as well. So Magic Grants, as the board, may pursue its own initiatives that are Monero related, but the main goal is to have the Monero Fund be able to really run with Monero related initiatives as well, really be the pulse of what the community needs. And they found a really, really exciting project that I think is an excellent fit for our organization. They are raising donations right now for improved fuzzing of Monero's RPC endpoints. For the Monero HackerOne vulnerability submission that researchers have been able to post to for about the last decade, a lot of the recent reports relate to some denial of service relating to Monero's RPC endpoints, and by further improving the fuzzing coverage of the RPC endpoints in particular, this gives us a really achievable goal and it allows us to address one of the main resiliency concerns with the Monero network. Any changes and any improvements with this fuzzing code will continue to be useful even after Monero deploys FCMP++. So this is not something that's going to go away or not be useful. It's a really useful project in tandem. So if you want to contribute, the link to our donation page is right there, and they would certainly appreciate your donation. Other fun things we've done in the Monero community, we funded our own creation of a bunch of Monero-related applications that run on TrueNAS. TrueNAS is a great open source operating system that is meant for network-attached storage devices, and I really have enjoyed using it personally. So we made Monero. We made a Monero application. We made a Monero LWS application. We made an RT application for Tor. We made an I2P Java application. We made a Monero Wallet RPC application, and there's others we probably wanted to use in the future. We also made Bitcoin related applications as well. And I wrote a guide on privacy guides for how you can actually set up this tricked out Monero server so that you can communicate over Tor and I2P. You can set up your own LWS server and instantly communicate over an onion address without having to configure any network firewall, open ports or anything like that. It's really elegant, great solution. So if you have some time, I strongly recommend going through this guide. It's a good project to work on, and it's pretty easy to follow. And if you have an improvement, definitely suggest it to privacy guides as well. And then finally, one of the most recent things we did was a Rust Monero Explorer API. This is built atop Cuprate, which is a Monero node reimplementation in Rust, and it receives quite a lot of funding through the Monero CCS. So we wanted to build on Cuprate. We wanted to see what it would be like. We liked their documentation on the storage database structure that they have. And in our testing, the Rust Monero Explorer API is actually similarly performant to the Onion Explorer that you may have heard of and has been around for a long time. It's maybe slightly less performant, but we've noticed it's a lot more reliable, actually. It's less prone to crashing. At least on my own devices, I was able to really throw a lot of traffic at the Onion Explorer, resulting in crashes, but I wasn't able to crash the Rust Monero Explorer API. So definitely consider this at least as a backup option or something to play around with. It's something we intend to continue working on in the future, but it's a pretty robust API even in its current form, and it has some more modern Monero related results like the transaction weight and things instead of size, which don't matter as much for the fee calculations. But you can see the link to that there. And if you want to stay updated, this is just my last slide here. You can go to our website, magicgrants.org, click on follow our newsletters, and then you can select the ones you want to follow. If it's just the Magic Monero Fund newsletters or also the general Magic Grants, the privacy guides, any sort of newsletters you want to follow, you can do that from there. All right. Well, thank you for your time. I appreciate you listening, and I hope that you're able to help contribute to Magic Grants in the future. We are very interested in supporting the Monero ecosystem, and it's a very important part of our charitable mission. So we're very excited to support and to participate at MoneroKon, and I hope you all have a good time.